The ghost ship appears. The Empire's capital orbit gleamed like a jewel against the black void of space, its countless towers and spires reflecting the light of the system's twin suns. From the surface, the planet seemed serene, orderly, a testament to centuries of meticulous governance, technological mastery, and absolute control. But far above the cloudless sky, in the infinite emptiness of space, the first hint of disruption appeared. Sensors aboard the Empire's flagship, Dread Sovereign, flared with activity. A blip, faint and fleeting, registered in a sector where no ships should have been. Lieutenant Vale squinted at the console, adjusting the sensor filters. "Commander, there's something unregistered," she said, her voice tight with unease. The blip had vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving only the echo of its passing in the arrays. Commander Thresk frowned, his mandibles twitching nervously. "Unregistered? Likely a probe. Nothing more." He waved at the holographic display showing the bustling fleets of the Empire. "We monitor thousands of sectors. A single anomaly is insignificant." But the Council observers watching from the observation deck were less certain. "Insignificant, you say?" One diplomat hissed. "Sensors do not lie. The signature, it is unlike any ship in our registry. Our archives contain the finest fleet designs in the galaxy. Nothing moves like this." Before Thresk could reply, the blip returned, sudden, sharp, and impossibly close. The Council's monitors flickered with a silhouette of a ship that should not exist. Sleek, compact, and human-built, if the ancient archives were correct. Its design violated every known principle of large-scale propulsion and shielding the Empire had perfected over centuries. "It's moving as if it is alive," murmured Vale. Her claws hovered over the console. "No predictable pattern. Evades every sensor. How is it possible?" Thresk tightened his grip on the command rail. "Impossible. There is no human capability to build." The blip vanished again. The room went silent. Even the hum of the flagship's engines seemed muted, as though space itself held its breath. In the council chambers, debate erupted. "This cannot be a coincidence," a military advisor shouted. "A human vessel in this sector is madness. We've crushed their colonies, confined them to their backwater systems. They have no fleets, no technology, nothing that should allow this." "Perhaps it is a trick of sensors," another council member argued, though her tone lacked conviction. "Or an automated probe with an advanced cloaking array?" But the Emperor, seated in his throne of polished alloy, did not speak. His eyes, cold and calculating, tracked the empty void where the ship had appeared. For a moment, centuries of pride and confidence flickered in uncertainty. On the observation deck, Vale's voice trembled. "Sir, it's gone again. No trace, no signature, nothing. It appears and disappears at will." Thresk exhaled sharply. "If it returns, we prepare interceptors. Full fleet alert. Nothing, no human ship, will escape us a second time." The council murmured their approval, though fear lingered beneath the surface. Outside the hull of the flagship, the sector remained eerily quiet. Stars shimmered indifferently, unbroken by warp trails or battle flares. And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the ghost ship vanished again, leaving only questions, unease, and the unmistakable sensation that the Empire's centuries of dominance were being challenged by something utterly unpredictable. In the dark reaches of the sector, far beyond the sensors of the Dread Sovereign, the human ship drifted silently. Its crew, few but resolute, monitored the Empire's movements. They had no desire to announce their presence, not yet. Observation, disruption, and surprise were weapons more potent than fleets or firepower. Somewhere, deep inside the Empire, a seed of doubt took root. The first whisper spread quietly. "The humans, they are nothing like we imagined." And for the first time in centuries, the Empire felt vulnerable. The first strike. The Empire's fleets moved with precision, thousands of warships gliding in formation through the void. The Dread Sovereign led the armada, sensors stretched to their limits, scanning for the ghost ship that had already shaken the Council's confidence. Every commander aboard felt the tension. The thrill of battle mingled with the prickling unease of facing an enemy they did not understand. Commander Thresk paced the bridge. "We cannot underestimate them," he warned. This is no ordinary human vessel. It appeared unscathed in a sector protected by patrols, bypassed our sensors, and disappeared before we could react. A young tactical officer, still new to the hierarchy, leaned forward nervously. Sir, what if it's a trick? Perhaps they've used a decoy or some hidden propulsion technology we don't know of. Thrusk's mandibles twitched in irritation. Then we adapt. But mark my words, no human, no primitive species should be capable of this. Our fleet is the finest in the galaxy. Numbers and technology will prevail. Yet, even as he spoke, the first human strike came. From the Empire's perspective, it was sudden, almost impossible. In a sector assumed secure, a flash of light erupted in the void. Empire vessels found themselves under fire from no visible source. Shields flared, missiles detonated harmlessly against empty space. And then, as if the rules of physics had bent themselves, the human ship appeared, inside the formation, moving where no vessel should reach in a fraction of a second. The human tactics were unlike anything the Empire had encountered. Decoy drones erupted from the ship's hull, mimicking the signature of multiple vessels. Electronic pulses scrambled targeting systems, turning the Empire's precise formation into chaos. Communications cut out mid-transmission, leaving commanders shouting orders that never reached their fleet. Impossible, shouted one admiral, watching his flagship's shields collapse. How do they move like this? We've never faced a weapon like it. The humans exploited every weakness. Gravity wells, asteroid belts, and nebulae were used as cover, masking their attacks and enabling maneuvers that seemed reckless, yet always effective. Empire ships were torn apart one by one, their destruction precise, surgical, and terrifyingly efficient. From the human perspective, the strike was clinical. Captain Alara sat at the helm of the ghost ship, eyes scanning the tactical displays. Keep them off balance, she ordered. Avoid planetary strikes, they're unnecessary. Focus on crippling their fleet, not their people. Her crew moved with synchronized precision, anticipating every Imperial maneuver. Every shot, every evasive turn, was calculated not just for destruction, but for psychological impact. The humans understood fear, unpredictability, and chaos in a way the Empire could not. Within the hour, the Empire's flagship was heavily damaged, its bridge glowing with the heat of failing systems. Auxiliary fleets attempted to regroup, but the human vessel had vanished again, reappearing in new positions, dismantling the fleet without warning. Sensors that once gave the Empire unassailable confidence were useless. Every strike was anticipated, yet never predictable. Back on the capital, the Council's chambers erupted in panic. We underestimated them, one minister yelled. Our technology, our fleets, they mean nothing. How is this possible? Another, more cautious, added, perhaps we assumed humans would act predictably. They do not. That is their strength. We fight shadows of our expectations, not their reality. On board the ghost ship, Captain Alara allowed herself a brief smile. Humanity had always survived by turning its weaknesses into strength. Underestimating them had always been a mistake, and the Empire, blinded by centuries of superiority, was learning that lesson the hardest way possible. As the human ship disappeared again into the darkness, the Empire was left in disarray. Fleet formations lay in ruins, shields burned out, and commanders argued in vain over strategies that were already obsolete. The humans had struck once, and the message was clear: the Empire was no longer in control. And somewhere, in the depths of space, a whisper carried among the Empire's soldiers: the humans, they are nothing like we imagined. The first strike was over. The war had only begun, but the advantage had already shifted, and humanity had proven that ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability could topple even the greatest of galactic powers. Empire in chaos. The aftermath of the first human strike echoed across the Empire like a shockwave. Once pristine fleets lay in ruin, communication lines buzzed with panic, and entire sectors reported inexplicable losses. For centuries, the Empire had prided itself on control, on the certainty of dominance. Now, uncertainty hung thick in the air, more suffocating than any vacuum of space. On the capital planet, the council chambers were alive with tension, debate, and fear. Holographic displays showed smoldering fleets, crippled stations, and the ghostly traces of a ship that had never fully been seen. The Emperor's eyes, usually cold and calculating, betrayed the faintest hint of unease. How can a single human vessel dismantle what took centuries to build? He asked quietly, more to himself than anyone else. Military advisors argued over strategy, their voices rising in desperation. "We must deploy the experimental weapons," one shouted. "Total planetary bombardment. Eliminate their bases, their systems, everything." Another council member shook her head. "You are proposing atrocities. Even now, the humans do not strike civilians indiscriminately. They are precise, tactical. You cannot hope to win by throwing our empire into chaos. It will only strengthen their legend." Meanwhile, human strikes continued, invisible and devastating. Captain Alera's ship darted through the Empire's territories, exploiting weaknesses that the aliens hadn't even realized existed. Supply convoys were destroyed mid-transport, leaving fleets stranded and vulnerable. Communications arrays flickered and died, cutting off coordination between sectors. The humans turned the Empire's own infrastructure against them, a puzzle no alien mind could solve fast enough. Inside the Dread Sovereign, sensors blared with false readings. Fleet commanders shouted orders that no one could obey. Every decision seemed too slow, too rigid, too predictable. The humans adapted instantly. A detachment attempted to flank the ghost ship, only to find themselves surrounded, their engines disabled by a sudden EMP pulse. In minutes, what had been a confident strike force was reduced to drifting wreckage. On the capital planet, public panic spread like wildfire. Citizens who had grown up under the Empire's rule watched as news feeds depicted inexplicable devastation, fleets destroyed without warning. Fear became tangible, eroding faith in leadership. The once unassailable authority of the Emperor and the Council began to crumble. "Deploy the enforcement brigades," shouted a high-ranking official. "Restore order at any cost." But even these measures faltered. Humans, ever unpredictable, struck only where they chose, leaving no pattern to follow. Their attacks inspired legend as much as terror. Whispers spread through the Empire. "They are everywhere and nowhere." Amid the chaos, some council members began to realize the depth of their miscalculation. "It is not our technology that fails us," one admitted quietly to a colleague. "It is our inability to think like humans. They are not constrained by our rules, our traditions, our sense of inevitability. That is why they survive, why they strike so effectively." In the void, Captain Alera observed the disarray with quiet satisfaction. Humanity had no desire to annihilate, yet, but the Empire's rigidity made every move predictable to those who could think differently. Every calculated strike, every sudden disappearance, was a lesson the aliens could not learn quickly enough. And yet, despite the Empire's technological superiority and sheer numbers, the humans continued to dictate the pace of the war. Entire fleets hesitated to engage, unsure of when or where the next strike would fall. Political factions within the council turned on each other, blaming generals, ministers, and even the emperor for failing to anticipate the impossible. In the aftermath of yet another strike on a major orbital station, the emperor's voice finally rang out in the council chamber. "We underestimated them, the humans. This is not a battle we can fight with arrogance or fear. We must learn, adapt, or we will lose everything." The statement, though measured, carried a weight of defeat. Within the hour, strategic meetings began to consider surrender. Alliances shifted, and the first seeds of rebellion appeared among regional governors emboldened by the Empire's faltering authority. Somewhere in the vast reaches of space, the ghost ship slipped silently through uncharted regions, leaving chaos in its wake. Humanity had not conquered worlds with sheer firepower, nor annihilated populations with indiscriminate force. Instead, they had proven that intelligence, creativity, and courage could destabilize even the mightiest empire. By the end of the day, the empire was no longer a monolith. Its fleets were fractured, its leadership divided, and its people questioning everything they had been taught. The humans, elusive and unstoppable, had turned fear into a weapon, and the legend of their appearance spread faster than any fleet could chase them. And in the darkness beyond the stars, Captain Alera smiled faintly. Humanity's place in the galaxy had been declared, not with brute force, but with brilliance, daring, and the unwavering refusal to be predictable. The vanishing victory. The Empire's capital had never felt smaller. From orbit, the fractured fleets appeared as fragile specks of metal and light, scattered and trembling under the invisible gaze of an enemy they could neither locate nor comprehend. Panic had long since seeped into every council chamber, every command deck, every citizen's mind. And somewhere out there, in the endless black, the human ship waited, silent, unseen, and inevitable. Commander Thrusk barked orders, trying desperately to restore cohesion. All fleets converge on Sector 12. We cannot allow this ghost to continue its campaign unchallenged. Sensors flashed in frantic response. Reports of destroyed convoys, crippled orbital stations, and disabled dreadnoughts arrived simultaneously. Each message was worse than the last. The humans moved faster, struck harder, and vanished before retaliation could be mounted. Then it appeared. The ghost ship emerged not at the edge of the fleet, but in the center of the Imperial formation, where the command ships gathered. Its sudden presence caused an immediate chain reaction, shields flaring, weapon systems locking onto empty coordinates, and dreadnoughts firing at nothing. The humans struck decisively. Laser bursts tore through hulls, and electromagnetic pulses sent entire battalions of drones spinning into uselessness. Command centers were obliterated before alarms could sound. "This is impossible," cried one admiral, watching his flagship implode. "We cannot fight an enemy that defies reality." Captain Alera's voice rang through her small crew. "Focus on command vessels. Avoid civilian worlds. Keep them off balance. Let them see us, but never predict us." Her crew executed flawlessly. They moved as one, exploiting every flaw in the Empire's rigid formations. The human strategy was as much psychological as physical. Fear, confusion, and awe became their silent weapons. No fleet could withstand the precision and unpredictability combined. By the time the first Imperial flagship had fallen, entire fleets were in disarray. Factions of admirals argued over strategy, while their ships drifted helplessly. Regional governors questioned loyalty to the central command. The Emperor, watching from his throne, understood too late that the humans had shattered the very foundation of his empire. And then, as suddenly as it had arrived, the ghost ship vanished. Not destroyed in battle, not fleeing, it simply disappeared. No warp trail, no residual energy signature, no hint of direction. The Empire's sensors, honed for centuries to detect even the faintest trace of life, found nothing. It was as if the humans had never existed at all. The silence was deafening. The Emperor rose from his throne, the weight of centuries of arrogance pressing down on him. "Where are they?" he demanded, but even he knew no answer would come. The human ship had struck, reshaped the galaxy's power structure, and vanished without acknowledgement. Across the Empire, reports trickled in. Entire fleets were lost, planetary defenses crippled, and communication networks in shambles. The Council convened urgently, but internal strife had grown too deep. Regional governors ignored orders, some even declaring independence. Fear had replaced loyalty, and no mandate could restore order. In the void, Captain Alera reflected on the campaign. Humanity had not sought conquest, only survival and the assertion of its place in the galaxy. Yet in demonstrating what humans were capable of, ingenuity, adaptability, courage, the Empire had learned a lesson it would never forget. The legend of the ghost ship spread quickly. Rumors of a human vessel capable of appearing and disappearing at will reached every corner of the galaxy. The Empire, once thought invincible, now trembled under the shadow of uncertainty. Humanity had made its statement, not with numbers, not with sheer destructive force, but with brilliance, daring, and unpredictability. And somewhere far beyond Imperial space, the ghost ship reappeared quietly among distant stars, preparing for its next mission. No fanfare, no celebration, just humans, quietly observing, waiting, and reminding the galaxy that their presence could never be fully anticipated or controlled. The Empire, fractured and demoralized, struggled to recover. Generations of dominance had ended in a matter of weeks. And in the dark silence of space, one truth became undeniable. The humans had come, and the galaxy would never forget.